Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we're in Masechtas Ksubas daf Kuf Aleph. We are going to begin on Kuf Omid Beis at the bottom by the next Mishnah. Hamamenes. So if you have a katana who has the ability to walk out of a marriage and do miyun, for that matter, Hashniya, a woman who is midoraisa allowed to marry. However, it's a shniyas la'arayas shehin mediri seifrim, which we saw a long time ago in Masechtas Yevamos, that rabbinically it's a rabbinically forbidden marriage. And va'ionis, a woman who is incapable of having children, she shows no signs of physical maturity, ein lahen ksuba. So right off the bat, none of these three categories of women receive a ksuba. Why? So Rashi says, Mamenes mishum mi'atzmi yatsa. She left on her own accord. It wasn't something which he decided. She has the authority to do so. Shniya knas and rabbananhu. When it comes to a shniya, is because the rabbanan knas her. It's her penalty, as it says in Masechtas Yevamos. Mimnei shehi margilaso l'naisha she'enu mafsedes klum benesuin she'enu nifselos behen uvlad kosher. So in this situation, she's the one that initiates the marriage, and the Gemara discusses why sometimes she initiates the marriage, sometimes the man does. And when it comes to a shnius l'arayas, we say that she's the one that initiated it, and therefore this is her kanas. And islandist, which is most logical, is mishum mekav taisu. It's considered to be a mistake. The whole marriage was based on the assumption that she was able to have children, or that she was able to show signs of physical maturity, which she never did. Okay, so not only is there no ksuba, v'lo peros. Now, what does it mean? There's no fruit. So Rashi says not what we would think, but din peros v'hu pirkoina. When it comes to her being redeemed, shetiknu chachamim tachas peros nichsim alug shu'oichel ein lo. That instead, outside of the peros, which is the husband gets the peros of her nechsim alug, she brings in this land, so he gets the peros, she keeps the karka. So the im nishbis, the whole notion is, if she is captured, einu chayv lefdaisa. The din is that you do not have to redeem her in this situation. The tanai ksuba kiksuba, kivan de ein lo ksuba, ein lo tanai ksuba. So anytime there's no ksuba, there's no tanai ksuba either. And therefore, the whole notion of tanai ksuba is that peros, they're both with a pay. The peros is in lieu of the pirkoina. But so in this situation, the din is that he doesn't redeem her. V'lo mezainis. So also there's no chiv of mezonos, again, in the event, let's say after he dies, so he doesn't have to have mezonos. V'lo blois. And it says Rashi, schaki begadim. The garments that have been worn out, so normally we say that she gets to keep them. In this situation, we say she doesn't. Now, however, if let's say when he married her, he knew that this was her physical situation, then it'll be a ksuba, because it was not a mekaftos. He understood what he was getting himself into on the onset. And then the Mishnah concludes, you have an alman l'kohen gadol, or grusha b'chutz l'kohen hedjit. So in all these situations, or mamzer menasin al Yisrael, and the sin is with the gavonim, or bastel and the sin al mamzer yeshling ksuba. In all these situations, there is a ksuba. It says Rashi, shehi psula, because she becomes pasul in this marriage, uvla the pasul, alidin nesuin, and also her children become pasul. Lefikach enu margilasai. She's not the one that initiated this marriage, because there's a huge downside. Ella hu margila. He was the one that got her to marry him. And therefore, says Rashi, therefore we knas him in this situation to get the ksuba. So if she has what to lose, so which probably means she probably didn't walk into this marriage except for saying, okay, you know what? I know I'm going to become pasul, my children become pasul, but I want to marry this guy. I'm willing to marry this guy. So it was really him pushing her because she had what to lose. So in that situation, she gets a ksuba. So Rav learned that when we said this in our Mishnah, it's a katana yoitz beget ein lo ksuba, that even a katana A regular katana in which there is a din of receiving a get, even she doesn't get a ksuba. The kol shekain mamenes. If she doesn't get a ksuba, where it was really on some levels a real marriage, nonetheless it's not a ksuba. So then certainly a woman who does mian, who could walk out of the marriage on her own, is not going to get a ksuba. Shmuel tani mamenes ein lo ksuba avol yaitza beget yesh lo ksuba. So there's a machlokus when it comes to a katana whether there's a ksuba. So Rashi says like this: Ksavar ein nisui katana el kemafuta ba'alma. That he says that this is not really halachic marriage when it comes to a katana. It's just like a woman who's being mafata, and therefore for that reason she won't get a ksuba. Again, it's a machlokus. Shmuel says that she will get. The other Shmuel taimei. Yomi Shmuel mamenes ein lo ksuba. It says that when it comes to a woman who does miyun, she doesn't get ksuba. Yotze get yesh lo ksuba. So we see that's what he holds. Fine. And now we continue. Mamenes, if a woman who had miyun, lo pasel min achen, that will not pasel her from the brothers. What does that mean? Says Rashi, shumuter sakrayvav, ki anusua kamafuta titnan and mesaktes yivamas neisi adam anusas aviv, etc. So in other words, since she did miyun, that shows like retroactively she was really never married, and therefore because of that, okay, she doesn't get a ksuba. But she also, because the whole marriage, that's why it's like really not a marriage, so too, because of that, she also can now marry his brother, because it's like she was never married to this first guy. Well, pasim in a kahuna, and because again, she's not really like she was married, the whole issue of marrying a Kohen is if you're a Gerusha. But this situation is being oiker than the Suan Rishainim. It removes the whole thing. She's saying that I didn't want my mother to have married me, which was a Kedusha de Rabbanon, so therefore Mian uproots the whole marriage to begin with so she can still marry Kohen. Fine. So that's what he says. So Mamenes lo pasim an achin, lo pasim an kahuna, yotze beget. Let's say, on the other hand, if let's say she receives a get, then pasim an achin, u pasim min a kahuna, because that actually does something. Another distinction, Mamenes, when it comes to a woman who did miyun, einu sricha hamtin shloisha chadashim. She doesn't have to wait 3 months after having done miyun. There's no tekanas chachamim in that situation, like other women, that we usually require them to wait 3 months before they get remarried. In this situation, we do not require it. As we continue to Kuf Aleph, Amud Aleph, Yotze beget sricha hamtin shloisha chadashim. So this answers question 9 and TA24. What's that? Katana hayoitzeis beget. Well, my nafkamina beput Rabbi Shmuel in the sir v'girasheha klum or the enu el kamafuta. So as we said, one is whether she gets a get, whether she's usher to his relatives, like his brothers, whether she's puzzled to kahuna, because she married Kohen now, and also does she have to wait for the period of 3 months to marry someone else. Okay, now Rashi in the top says Yaitz beget Srichan Haptan Vafga the Lakelas Fuki Katana Bimuberis Ulchil Chachamim Petakantan Benesuais. Because even though a katana is not going to get pregnant, so what's the big deal? Why does she have to wait 3 months? It's a little plug. The Chachamim don't make any distinction when it comes to any marriage in which actually was a valid marriage and then there was a divorce. We always say straight across the board, so there's no confusion, that you have to wait for 3 months. Even though the truth is, practically, it's really not necessary because there's no way that she is going to get pregnant. She got pregnant as a katana. But if we allow this, then people are going to start, when it comes to other marriage situations where she could be pregnant, could get married before 3 months, and that can become problematic because, again, we're not going to know the status of the child, namely who the father is. So, my Kamashmalan, what does this really come to teach us? Tanina, Kuhu. We already learned all of this from Masechtas Yevamos. Can't you remember? It was only 3 months ago, right? We don't need to chazer. We should know it already by heart. Hamamenes beish. Let's say a woman does miyan. So who mutter b'krovaseha? So he is mutter to marry her relatives. V'hi muteres b'kroval, and she's allowed to marry his relatives. V'lo pasum in a kahuna. She's not pasum from a kohen. Nasan leget, however, it's a mamish, everything we said. If a get was given, who asur b'krovaseha, v'hi asur b'krova pasum in a kahuna. So we already know that this distinction is already said in Masechtas Yevamos. You're right, but the whole notion of having to wait for 3 months is not something which is mentioned. Therefore, that's why we mentioned the whole thing here. Lema ketanoi. Let's say this whole matter is actually a machlokas tanoim regarding this katana. Rabbi Lezer Omer, ein ma'ase katana klum. Now, first of all, he says that the actions of a katana really amount to nothing. Ve'ein bala zaka mimitzios, and therefore the husband does not have any schus if she finds an object. V'lo b'masya down, not for the work that she produces. V'lo b'afaras nedereha, he cannot annul her vows. Ve'enu yorsha, he doesn't inherit her. Ve'enu matamula, and also if he's a Kohen, he's still not allowed to become tummy, even though a Kohen Hedget is typically allowed to become tummy l'shera for his wife, but not if she is a katana. Klal shadavar, what is the general rule? Enu ki ishtoi l'chol davar, she's not your wife. Elos shesricha miyan, we at least require her to do miyan, we require her to do something. But the truth is, it's not really anything, but we require her to just do something to walk away. Rabbi Yeshua Emery says, no, it's the other way around. Mas katana klum. The marriage of a katana actually has validity, and therefore the husband can get her findings. Umasiyadan, her paycheck. Duran, annul her vows. The Yarshan, he will inherit her when she dies. Umatamula, and if he's a Kohen, he can become tummy for her. Klal shadavar, according to him, the general rule is Harihi ki'ishto chol davar. She's like your wife. There's only one difference. She yaitz b'miyan. Instead of a get, we allow you to do miyan. Now, lema Rav Diamak Rabbi Lezer, Shmuel Diamak Rabbi Yeshua. L'chayra, that we're going to say that they hold like these two opinions, therefore it's a machlokas tanoim. So the Gemara says, as we often don't want to peg an Amoraim to be like one Tana, because we don't want Amoraim to be disagreeing necessarily with Tanoim, because they are in the previous generation. So therefore, because that we generally, when we say Limaka Tanoim, we have a Amoraim going only to one side, we try to make it so that they're not arguing with the Tanoim. So the Gemara says like this. You're right. Aliba de Rabbi Lezer, based on what Rabbi Lezer says, that ein maseh katana klum, that it's nothing, then kulim lo pligi. You're forced to say it's a machlokas tanaim. Ki pligi liib de Rabbi Yeshua. However, according to Rabbi Yeshua, who over here says that her masa is something that a katana is like your wife. Actually, it can be a machlokas tanaim. Shmuel Rabbi Yeshua. First of all, Shmuel could simply hold like Rabbi Yeshua, because Shmuel, as we said, is of the opinion that says a katana who receives a get receives yeshel ksuba. She gets a ksuba because she's like your wife. However, v'rav adkan lo kama Rabbi Yeshua hasam elam medidei. Maybe the only time Rabbi Yeshua made this whole statement is regarding the question of matters. Let's see, it was Rabbi Lezer had one opinion, and it was Rabbi Yeshua. So maybe Rabbi Yeshua, when it comes to things that she gives to him, things that she gives to him, Rabbi Yeshua says that he's entitled to them. However, things in which he has to give to her, maybe he'll agree in that situation. So again, maybe it's the difference between the things that he receives from her. Rabbi Yeshua says that he is zoichet all these things. However, when it comes to things that she gives to him, then not necessarily would that be the same thing. And therefore, Rav, who says that she does not get the ksuba, so maybe he gets things from her, but she won't get things back from him. Okay. Rashi says, again, that's of course what we're talking about. Okay. Weiter. So she doesn't get to keep her worn out garments, those women. Amrule Rav Hunabar Chil Rav Kahana. Amrat Lan Mishmei Shmuel. It was said in the name of Shmuel, Lo Shanu El Nechsim Alug. This whole discussion is when it comes to the Nechsim Alug, which again is the land that's brought into a marriage in which the husband gets to eat the peros and she keeps the karka. Of a Nechsit Tzayin Barzel, says Rashi, Tzayin Shu Kosha, like a hard sheep, means it's Umaskayim Lo Kabarzel. It remains the same as it was brought in. Lafi shekiba ulav achrayas, because there's it's indentured property. It's something in which, if it's taken away, you can get back. Isla, in that situation, she does have the ability to keep. So, fine. Isla. So, Havi Barapapa. So, Rapapa asks, hey, what is this statement going on? Ilema amamenes. Are we making distinction that a woman, a katana who does miyan, that potentially she could keep the boys of Nechsit Son Barzel? So, if it's extant, if it's still, the garments are here right now, Rashi says kayamin, so idi shakla. So, she should be able to keep it. As Rashi says, she'ein lon lekainsa. There's no reason to knas this girl. V'ideleisnehu. But if, let's say, they're not around these garments, idi v'hidi lo shakla. So it should all be totally if whether or not these garments are here or not. Ela islandus. We're talking about a situation of an islandus that we said the whole thing was a mekachtos. So idi isnehu, if the garments are here, idi shakla. Idi leisnehu, if they're not around, ivcha meboile. It should be the opposite. Nechsimalug, when it comes to nechsimalug, dibrishus kaima isla, he should pay her back because they're her property. Nechsit son barzel labrishus kaime. However, when it comes to nechsit son barzel, which is not considered to be like in her rishus, leisla, so then it should be that he doesn't have to. Why does it mean that blois that he does when it comes to nechsit son barzel should be the opposite? El ashnia. And we kanas when it comes to lidida lidida bidide. So in other words, like this. Truthfully, it should be the other way around, as we said before, between nechsit son bars and nechsit malug. But we kanas both of them, so each loses that which they are supposed to get. So what does that mean? So that's the idea, that we can ask each of them on the opposite ways. So therefore, they don't get what they're really entitled to receive. Okay. We can see from these words, the ayole galima karna havi, that when it comes to this cloak, it's considered to be like the Karen. It's considered to be like the object itself. V'lo mechasi law, you should not to wear it. V'ozol adaboili until it gets worn out. Yom Rav Nachman perahavi, but he said it was Paris. Rav Nachman pliga. So he says that he argues on this matter of Rav Nachman. Ein lo ksuba. So he said these women don't get a ksuba. They don't get the ikr ksuba. However, anything that's additions, that they actually will be entitled to. This is actually question 10 in TV 26, which is, what is the difference? Why the Chachamim sometimes say ein lehen ksuba and sometimes yotzes shelo b'ksuba? So if it says ein lehen ksuba, it just means she doesn't get the ikr ksub of 200 or 100. However, the toisefes she still receives. That's what the language of ein lehen ksuba. She doesn't get the ikr ksuba. However, when we mentioned in other circumstances where it says that the women go out without a ksuba, that means that they get nothing. Going to a versal das the chaber seha, someone who, as we mentioned before, Rashi says if you find that she made nedarim or mumin, or she curses either your father or the husband or himself in front of the kids, so all these different things are enough that she does not get a ksuba. And when it says that she doesn't get a ksuba, it means ein lohen tosefes or koshkin manam mosayim. She gets nothing. Vayotzis mishum shemra. If, let's say, a woman goes out because of a shemra, because she was mazana, noteles mashul afaneha v'yoitza, she will be able to take what was in front of her and go, namely the nixi malug. She can take her nixi malug. Messiah Rav Huna dim Rav Huna zinsala. When it comes to a woman who is caught having znus tachtov lo hefsida, as we continue to kuf album and bays, she doesn't lose out when it comes to biloy seha kayamin, the garments which are here. There are garments that exist. She can still have that. Tani Kamed Rab Nachman. Zinsa, if she was Mazana, Hefsidable Eseha Kayom, and she actually will lose out on those garments. Armalei Im Hi Zinsa, if she was Mazana, Keleha Mizanoi, then do we say that her clothes were Mazana? So Tani Lo Hefsidable Eseha Kayom, and we're not going to take away those clothes. Amar Rabba Barachana, Rav Yochanan Zudivi Rabbi Menachem Stimata, Chacham Amrim Zinsel Hefsida Beloiseha Kayamin. Again, she's not going to lose out. However, when it comes to an islandess, if he married her knowing that she was an islandess, then the din is she does get ksuba. So Rav Huna islandess Isha ve'eno Isha. When it comes to an islandess, she is a woman but not a woman. Says Rashi, Pamim hi ki ishto, Pamim eno ki ishto. She's in certain regards like your wife, and sometimes she's not. Almana, when it comes to a widow, Isha Gemura, she's completely your wife. Now, what exactly is this referring to? So, islandess Isha, this is question TA26. TA26 asks this question. Ein kaisen TA26? TA25 rather. Okay. TA25. Maha kavana b'divri Rav Huna islandess Isha ve'enu Isha. Almana Isha Gemura umahi maskana segemara b'zeh. So that's going to be TA25. Okay, I made a mistake on that. It's TA25. Okay, so what does that mean? So islandess Isha ve'enu Isha. Hikerba ni'esha ksuba. If you knew already that she was an islandess before, so then she's going to get a ksuba. Lo hikerba, if you didn't know, it's a mekatos, and then lo ksuba. And therefore, because of that, she's not going to receive the ksuba. Okay. However, when it comes to an almana, referring to an almana who marries a kohen gadol, in that situation, she is considered